Welcome to Loving Life Creatively with Lizzie Menz, the show that dives into the heart of our community's incredible talent. Join us as we explore the world of creativity through inspiring interviews with local artists, personal growth coaches, live demonstrations, and the countless benefits of creating. Every episode, we'll explore our guests' inspiring stories, celebrate their unique voices and visions, plus showcase their amazing creations. Your host, Lizzie Menz, and I am thrilled to take you on this incredible journey through the world of local artists, musicians, woodworkers, coaches, and all kinds of creative souls. Welcome, Connie.
Hello.
Thank you so very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
You're very welcome. I'm super excited for you to share hypnotherapy and life coaching both as an amazing tool that's also so creative. So welcome.
Thank you so much. So I've been doing this work since I got all my certifications in 2018. I officially created my business in early 2019, and I've been doing it ever since, and I absolutely love it.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So how many years is that now? That's 8?
Oh, I didn't know I'd have to do math this morning.
Sorry. I'll have to put that in the notes next time. Don't worry. No worries at all.
No, it's going on 7 years.
Yes, 7 years. Yes. Okay. Well, you know what? Great way to tee this up. So let's dig into a few more questions for you. So I guess explain a little bit more about your creative journey. How did you get started? How did you decide, back a few years ago that you wanted to do this?
Yes. Well, I do come to this work with 30 years of corporate experience. And I had about 6 different jobs. I tended to stay at my jobs for a while. I had one specific job. It was a medical nonprofit association, and I loved that work tremendously. Quite honestly, if I didn't have the difficult boss that came in, I would probably still be there.
Really?
Yes. So a lot of people, it was a difficult choice at that time because I really did love my job. It was everything I could have ever asked for in corporate America. But then I know, as fate would have it and how the universe works, I had a boss come in who was just extremely difficult. She actually squashed my self-esteem and my self-confidence. That's why building self-esteem and self-confidence is at the root of everything I do with my clients now. Actually, if I was to see her today on the street, though, I would run up and give her a big, giant hug and a kiss because it was her who forced me really out of corporate America. What happened was I thought about getting a different job, and I did for a little bit. But I was looking for a different job, and as I was doing that, I thought, there's potential to be one of these bosses anywhere. What can I do to put matters in my own hands? And so that's when I thought, well, let me create my own business. So I took a moment and I took stock at what am I good at? And then I realized I was that friend, just like you are. I was that friend that people would come to for an opinion, advice, that type of thing. And I thought, well, let's legitimize myself and let's get certified as a life coach. So I started with that. And I really loved that work, but it just wasn't enough. You know how you have those pokes and prods and these callings? And I listened to that, and I ended up discovering hypnotherapy. And I shortly thereafter got certified in hypnotherapy, and the rest is history, I guess, right?
Right. That's wonderful. And for you to be so open and to be able to see that path, and now to be able to help others see that path is so profound. And that's wonderful.
Yeah. I'm actually rolling out with an academy. It's called the Healingpreneur Academy, to help people who are like me 7 years ago, who you really want something to call your own. And there's a lot of people out there in the healing business, whether it's massage, Reiki, coaching, whatever it might be, and they're doing it as their side gig. And so creating an academy to allow people to have it be whatever success is for them, whether it's their full-time career, whether it's just having more clients that they help as that side gig, whatever it might be. Because I think nowadays, and don't you feel this, that there's so many people that we know there's more, and we want to tap into our life experiences and how things have helped define us, and we want to help people do that for themselves.
Absolutely. Yes. I can totally relate to that. Totally. So you've kind of already explained this, but is there a specific thing that kind of really inspires you about your work? I mean, you talked about how you help people. What about you? How does it inspire you?
I just love it. I love it because people come to me for changing habits, changing routines, changing their belief systems, and to be able to have a consultation call with somebody where I know deep down they feel their potential, but it's a little dusty maybe. And then I like to say sometimes, together we just dust it off so that their true self can shine again, and to be able to see that on their face. And I love seeing those aha moments. Sometimes those aha moments are happening just during those conversations. I know you have the same thing too with your coaching business and just being the light you are and talking to people. Sometimes it's that right word at the right time to the right person. And I just feel so lucky that I get to do this as my career, and it's beautiful.
Yes, that's wonderful. And I know that feeling when you see their eyes all of a sudden just light up, and
Yes.
that they're connected.
Exactly.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. So can you share a powerful, memorable experience when you've been hypnotizing or going through a hypnotherapy session with someone? I realize obviously you have to be careful about that, but is there a memorable moment?
There's so many. And there's so many because hypnosis is so powerful. Yes, I'm facilitating it and that type of thing, but it's just such a powerful modality. Coaching is as well, but hypnosis, because it's working at that subconscious level. And again, I touched on these a little bit, but I am going to answer the question, but I guess I'm going to answer it by leading in just a little
You're good.
bit. Is that okay?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So we have two parts of our mind. We have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And so if you almost imagine an iceberg, and that little tip that's pokes out represents our conscious mind. And so that's analytical, it's logical, it's reasoning, judging, questioning, that type of thing. I always tell my clients, if you're turning in a report, very important report, you're all in your conscious mind, right? But they say, just like the tip of the iceberg, it's only 5 to 10% of our mind comes from our conscious mind. All the rest, the submerged part of that iceberg, represents our subconscious mind. That holds our memories, our emotions, our belief systems, and our habits and routines. And so therefore, they say it's about 90 to 95% of our daily operations utilize our subconscious mind.
Wow.
When I first heard that, I thought, come on, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But then when you actually think about it, think about probably most everybody's first hour of your day, you're all in your subconscious mind. You get out of bed on the same side. You go about your morning routine the same way. All of that is just automatic habits and routines and your patterns. And so I always also tell people, when you brush your teeth, just think about trying to start at a different quadrant of your mouth, and you're going to be like, what?
True.
I'm a bottom left, by the way.
I'm upper right.
But anyways, so that's kind of fun and cool and that type of thing. But with our subconscious mind, the beautiful thing is hypnosis is working at that subconscious level. And so being able to help somebody who comes in with, I'll just say right now, this is the first thing that's coming to my mind, massive anxiety that is just really holding them back. Whether it is not permitting them to step into the world the way that they want to, whether they can't represent themselves, their business, the way they want to, because that anxiety is holding them back. And anxiety can be rooted in a lot of things, but oftentimes it's that belief system that I'm not enough to come out here and represent me or my business. That fear of failure, all of that stuff is our belief system. And I like to say that me and my colleagues, we joke around, and belief system, the acronym for that is BS, because a lot of times our belief systems are just that. And I get to help people discover that.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Good. It's memorable.
That is memorable. That is, I'm going to always remember that now.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Yes, that's awesome. So what challenges have you faced in your journey?
Good question. What challenges? I guess, so, okay, I moved here 3 years ago. It was in April of 22 is when my husband and I, we officially bought our house in February, but actually officially fully moved in April. So it's only been 3 years since I've been here.
Wow, it seems like longer than that.
Doesn't it?
It really does.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But I worked it though. I've really become a networking queen because
Agree.
not only did I come here as a person, I'm here representing my business, but also me personally. I remember going to many business after fives and different networking events and introducing myself to people and saying, yes, I'm here because it's my company, BU, to be full hypnosis and coaching, but I'm also here because I'm new to the area and I'm looking for friends as well. I love to hike. Do you like to hike? And that really, I think, helped break through some barriers and that type of thing. But anyways, so my challenge is, I'll never forget this. When my first summer here, when I first started, I actually was quite busy from April until maybe June or something. And then all of a sudden it dried up. And I was like, oh, what's going on? And so, because anyone who's client-based, that is a concern, that type of thing. And so I remember I have a friend who does this work. She's from Burlington, Wisconsin. So I called her and I said, Karin, I started off quite busy, but then now all of a sudden I'm a little quiet here. I'll always remember her words. Oh, Connie, it's summer in Wisconsin. And as soon as she said that, I was like, oh yeah, we have about 3 really good months. Everyone's off playing and doing all these things. But I actually joked and I said, I ought to put out a billboard that says, come see me in the fall and I'll help you with all the things that you didn't do in the summer, such as overeating and, just all these different things.
Quit smoking, all the things.
All the things.
That's actually brilliant. You should. You definitely should. And it is so true too. On classes that I've had, I learned that very same thing the hard way. I had all these classes scheduled in the summertime and nobody came to them. And I thought, what? Oh, duh.
Yeah, exactly. We're off playing and having fun and that type of thing. So
yes.
But now I know that. And so now I plan accordingly. So I'm off having my own fun in the summer. And then also I'm just very strategic about what I'm doing at different times in the year.
Of course.
But I also have to say, last year, the last 2 summers, the first summer definitely showed that, but the last 2, it definitely slows down, but it wasn't as slow as it was that first summer.
Sure. Well, the word's out. You're out now.
Yes,
yes,
good.
Yes, most definitely. So how do you stay motivated, inspired, and manage your time?
It's a good question. So as far as managing my time, I hired a business coach years ago when I was doing this business as my side hustle and I wanted it to be my full-time career. So I hired a business coach. And one of the very first things she taught me was the importance of working from an ideal week. So that's one thing I teach in my academy, and I do help a lot of people with strategic planning for their business and that type of thing. And that's one of the first things I teach people is the importance of working from an ideal week. So for me, there's set days that I see clients. There's set days and times I see clients. The same with my consultation calls, because it's that balance of working on your business, versus working in your business.
Sure.
I have a YouTube channel myself, Confidence with Connie. So I need time, to create those videos and edit those videos and that type of thing. I do run a lot of classes. I do have an e-commerce part of my business. I write books. So I need time outside of seeing clients to do that. So that's probably my biggest pro tip, is working from an ideal week.
Okay, I'm going to take that tip.
We'll talk about
Okay,
it
sounds
because
great.
it's
Sounds
life-changing.
Yes, sounds wonderful. So who are some of your biggest influencers or mentors?
That's a really, really good question. When I first started getting into the mind space, I used to, I've probably read many, many books by Brian Tracy. Do you know him?
No, I don't.
He's probably an 80-year-old man at this point, but he used to talk a lot about, just goal setting and that type of thing. So I actually learned a lot from him, I don't know, a decade plus ago. So he was an early person that I used to listen to and was influenced by. Oh my gosh, there's so many. In my mind, I just have a visual of, because I used to hold empowerment retreats when I lived in Illinois. And one of the things I gave out was just all these podcasts and YouTube channels and things like that I listened to. And they've kind of evolved over the years, of course. So, gosh, that is a really good question. Right now, too, I always love listening to Bruce Lipton. I believe he's an epigeneticist, and he talks a lot about the power of the mind. Joe Dispenza is great. All of those different people who really talk about the subconscious mind. That is who I really get inspired by, because there's so much to learn about it.
Sure, I can't even imagine the vast amount that you can learn.
Right. And even though I've been doing this work, and I see in myself, the work I do on myself, but also the work that I see with clients, I clearly understand the subconscious mind, but it's just so vast and huge that I think you could probably study it your whole life, and I don't know if anyone could really, really understand. It's our mind, right? And your mind's different than my mind. And one reason why it is because we all have something that's called our model of the world. So you have a model of the world just based off of when you were born, who you were born into, where you were raised, your early influences, just like I do, just like anyone listening to this. We all have our model of the world. And so that right there just starts to shape us and influence us. Now, not that we can't grow and change and evolve, because of course we do, but even with that, we somewhat pick and choose. Well, because you asked me, who are my early influencers and stuff like that. So mine are going to be different than yours. And all of that creates the lens from which we see the world. I have a very early YouTube video that I actually was very literal in it, where I would pick up some glasses and I would talk about, here are my glasses. This is how I see the world. This is my prescription. This is my lens. Not that I can't put it down, change my prescription or anything, but I think a lot of times when we're working with people, when I'm working with clients, I want to know, what is your model of the world? Doesn't matter what mine is, because we're not working on me right now. I'm helping you. So knowing your model of the world is so vitally important. So, and I love doing that, just really, this is the peeling the onion, the getting to the root of everything, and that root, that core of a person.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you are phenomenal at it, which I'm excited to get to
Thank
share
you.
that later in the show today. So what advice would you give to an aspiring hypnotist or hypnotherapist, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I'm certified to certify others in hypnosis.
Oh, you are.
So I can speak very firsthand to that. One thing with that, with my teaching and my certification of others, is just do it. The Nike tagline, right? Just do it. But a lot of times people, you'll get certified and you'll practice a lot and all these kind of things, but people are nervous to get started. I'm sure you too, with your coaching, you're a little nervous to have that first client, but you have to get started. And I like to say, this is another thing me and all of my hypnotherapist friends, we kind of joke about, but it's a little true. We want to go back to our first couple, or maybe a handful of clients that we worked with, and say, I got better. I really did. But being okay to admit that, right? Because you have to start somewhere. And I do, so one thing that I do with my certification program, and I do this intentionally, part of it is, one, I show you how to start and grow your business. Then the other thing that I do is I do a 1 year of mentorship that automatically comes with the course that you purchased with me, because it's great to get certified, but now what? But then also every single client, even to this day, 7 years later, every single client I have, they all teach me something, all of them. And so I just like, oh, that's a learning, and I put that in my tool bag, and then I'm going to use that for a future client. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
We do this in life all the time, so it's okay to admit that we do this in our business as well.
Absolutely. I'm always saying, can I borrow that? Can I steal that? Can I
Yes.
say that? So, you know,
Right,
always. Yeah,
right.
agree.
Yes.
I definitely agree. So I know you've kind of talked a lot about the hypnotherapy side of things. So if someone is unfamiliar with it, what would you say is the most unexpected way it really fosters self-expression and creativity?
How hypnosis can? Is that the
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
You know, I like to say, since we're working at those belief system levels, it allows people to just put that junk down. And then with that junk that we carry, these false beliefs that do not serve us, we can now move forward. Sometimes our belief systems, I can get very physical with this, but you know, here's my belief system that I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. And so, you know, you can see this, but you know, it's blocking my view. And so even if we just start to talk and put that down, start to put that down, it might still be in front of us, but now I can see a little differently. And then eventually we can just set it down for good. And so that is something that I really enjoy helping people with. But then in doing that, that is how they can step into their best version of themselves. And I know I'm talking a lot about belief systems, but you know, again, at that subconscious level, it's memories, emotions, belief systems, and habits and routines. And so a lot of times the reason our belief systems can be so strong is because we have a heightened emotion with it. I always like to tell people, I was 7 years old. I think I was 7 when Elvis died. Even though I was a 7-year-old child and I didn't know Elvis, I remember we were crossing over the bridge in Dixon, Illinois, because it came over the radio and my mom lost her mind. And so even though I was a 7-year-old kid, I remember where I was when Elvis died. You know, most of us remember, I shouldn't say most of us, everyone remembers where we were at 9/11. The reason I was going to say most of us is because maybe some viewers weren't alive yet. So,
Right.
but you know, those big moments in our life, whether they are a high or a low moment, the reason we will always remember them is because we had such a heightened emotion related to it. So 3 weeks ago, Tuesday, we don't remember because it was just a normal day. So that's why we don't really remember it. And so that's why, with our emotions being tied and connected to our subconscious level, a lot of times our belief systems are rooted in a really heightened moment. You know, maybe we were just a rock star that day and we're like, yes, I can do it. That's a beautiful thing. But then maybe we have that time that we walked on stage and we tripped and fell, literally, physically, or however else. And that's that emotion that we connect to it. Then that's why that belief system can stay with us so strong and for so long. And it's all of this beautiful stuff that we get to do in hypnosis.
It is such a strong and deep, relatable thing that we just don't think about.
Right.
We really don't. We just go on our daily lives.
Yeah. Habits
Yes.
go, right? Yeah.
Yes. One of the profound things you said to me is when you're driving home and all of a sudden you get home and you think, how did I get home?
Right. And I use that all the time as an example because some people, unfortunately, but I get it, it's the model of the world, right? And it's my job to be able to say, hey, do you want to wear my glasses for just a while so you can see my model of the world to explain hypnosis? That was a long segue into saying that some people can be a little skeptical of something that they've never experienced before. So I always tell people that hypnosis is very natural, it's very safe, it's effective. All of us go into hypnosis every single day. We just don't know it's hypnosis. So anytime you're in a state of trance, so highway hypnosis, whether you know that phrase or not, I think we've all experienced it, which is you have that familiar path that you go on every day, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't remember getting here. I don't remember, driving by that big red barn or whatever it might be. And that was because you were in a state of trance. You habitually know how to drive so well, but your mind was so focused on something that you could shut down the rest of the world. And that's why you don't remember driving, stopping at that stop sign, driving by that favorite house that you like to look at or whatever. Another way I like to explain it is if we've ever daydreamed, if anyone has had to say, Lizzie, you were in a state of trance and you were so focused on something that you could shut down the world. And that is what hypnosis is that focused concentration on what we're doing. And where it's really important and where hypnosis is different than guided meditation. Guided meditation is fabulous, so hear that first and foremost. But where hypnosis is different than a guided meditation is we are spending just as much time in my consultation chairs as we are in the hypnosis chairs. Because again, I need to know what's your model of the world? What are your belief systems? What's change mean to you? How are you going to feel? What are you going to be, do, have, and give on the other side of reaching your goals? You're going to feed me all this information. I'm taking all these notes because I'm going to apply that in the hypnosis chair. I'm going to feed back to you these suggestions that you desire in your life. And a lot of times I really do explain too that hypnosis is imagining. You're imagining what it is on the other side of this change. And we're incorporating all of the senses, all the 5 senses that we have. Sight, sound, touch, kinesthetic, which is touch and feeling, taste, and smell. But for most people, it's one of the 3, sight, sound, or feeling that is more prevalent.
Sure. Yeah. That's wonderful. And, and that's a great segue into the next section of our show.
Yes.
Up next, what we're going to do is we're going to dive in a little bit more about the power of hypnotherapy, partnering with life coach as well, and the benefits of what both of those modalities provide. And also stay tuned. After we discuss the benefits, we'll welcome Connie back on the show and discuss the highlights of my hypnotherapy session, why I requested a session, and how it continues to benefit me to this day. So I'm super excited to talk with that too. Connie will also share the best ways to get in touch with her and to schedule your discovery session when you're ready. Hypnotherapy and life coaching creates a powerful partnership, combining the art of healing with the science of self-discovery. Hypnotherapy taps into the subconscious, where our deepest fears, desires, and memories all reside. By addressing and unblocking hidden mental barriers, it really opens the door to clarity, emotional healing, and boundless creativity, which we know I love. It's a gentle yet transformative practice that allows individuals to rewrite their narrative, empowering them to move forward with confidence and purpose. Who doesn't need that, right? Partnering with a life coach complements this journey beautifully. A skilled life coach provides practical guidance, helping individuals set goals and navigate life's challenges with intention and tons of focus. They inspire clarity and confidence while also offering tools and encouragement to turn dreams into achievable realities. Together, hypnotherapy and life coaching create a seamless blend of inner healing and outer action, enabling individuals to unlock their true potential. This dynamic duo isn't just about overcoming obstacles, it's really about rediscovering your joy, reigniting passions, and embracing your life's endless possibilities. Through their combined support, individuals are empowered to lead lives that are vibrant, authentic, and brimming with tons of creativity. They remind us that transformation is possible for everyone, and that our best selves are always just within our reach. Connie, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Let's dive into my session.
Yay.
And we'll talk about all the experiences and the incredible gift that you have. And I can't wait just to share with everyone how this continues to help me throughout my life.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. Me too. Me too. So, because earlier in the show, you discussed why you asked me the questions that you did. So I have to tell you how profoundly awesome that is for me to now understand, what it is that you asked me. And, let's just dive in. Let's just talk about, I'll let you start. Let's talk about the session. Tell me what you got out of it, and then let's just talk about how it all rolled out.
Well, first, can we say that we talked about actually doing hypnosis here on the show?
Yes.
And not that we couldn't have done that, but in just talking with you, it just felt better for us to have a private session so that then here on the show you can, share with the audience what you experienced and how it was profound for you and that type of thing. It just felt that would be a better message possibly, I guess, for the viewers. And so
agreed. I definitely agree. And you also bringing to light that, when you see hypnotherapy on a show or hypnosis on a show or a comedian or something like that, this is so way different, completely way different.
Exactly. Yeah, because quite honestly, the beginning part of it might be a little bit boring for people to watch. So one of the very first things I do tell clients, and I think I told you, is it's not what you see in the movies.
And you were so correct.
But no, I'm so glad that we did that because from my perspective, it was just great. Even though I know you, it was just such a nice opportunity to spend some private one-on-one time with you to really get to know you and your soul so much deeper. Because in doing that, I really get to know, I already know you as a person, but I feel like I get to know your soul. And in knowing that, I can help you that much better as well. And then at the beginning, when we talk during a session, it's called building rapport. Building rapport is so very, very important because in doing that, then when we work together, you're so much more willing to allow yourself to open up and have the experience that you were intended to have.
Oh yeah, that trust is there. That authentic trust is there. And when you were going through the questions that you asked me, and specific questions that I didn't even think about, I also learned about myself before we even went into the hypnotherapy session.
Yeah.
And I think two of the most profound things is, of course, one was why am I here? Why do I want to do this? And for me, my whole life, I've always struggled with energy. I've always been one that can feel the energy in the room. I can walk in the room if there's good, bad, indifferent. But then I'm kind of always so overwhelmed by everyone's energy. I already have so much energy boiling out all the time. And then when I'm in a room of a whole bunch of other people, it just drains me. And I can go home feeling a bit lost. I can feel sad. I won't even know why. Or I'll feel angry. I don't even know why. So in my life, as I've been trying to transition through this, I was so excited to go to you and really dig into my subconscious and figure out, okay, where is that? Where is that coming from? And how can I better protect myself, I guess, or better contain myself? The other profound question that you asked me was, what are my blockers? What blocks me?
Yeah.
And I'd never really thought about that, and what I shared was that I sometimes don't feel that I'm taken seriously because I am little and because I am also full of energy and I talk fast and I have a smaller voice and, all the things, and that was my belief going back to what we talked about earlier. My belief was that. So of course that was kind of my horse blinder of, people don't take me seriously.
Yeah.
And you said profoundly that, Lizzie, isn't it wonderful that God, the universe, put you into a small body and you have this childlike spirit? That's the other thing too that I felt like I wasn't.
I have goosebumps.
You have
hearing you say
goosebumps.
that.
Yeah. And that's one of my superpowers God gave me is this spirit, this childlike spirit. Right. So that was another profound thing. And I went home and told my family that you had said that, and everybody laughed and said, "Well, duh." And I said, "I know, right? Why didn't I think of that before?"
Yeah.
So
there's no mistakes, right?
No.
I absolutely love it.
Yes. So for me, when we then transitioned, and we talked about other things as well, but when we transitioned and then I was in this nice big comfy chair with your big fluffy blanket and you put headphones on, which was, that was a very exciting for me too, because I love being in headphones and listening. When you talked about when you're going through a meditation or something and having the headphones on, like blocking everything out.
Right.
And to have your voice, so Connie was also in headphones, and then she had her mic, and her mic is talking to me in the headphones. We were all of a sudden contained.
Yeah.
Like, in that.
It's a beautiful experience, isn't it? Because it's
really
like, boom,
is.
I'm like right there inside your head. And yeah,
Yes.
clients report just absolutely loving that.
Yes, yes, yes. So if you remember, do you remember the question that you first asked me when I started, as you were walking through getting me into the hypnotic state, right? State. What was it that you asked me? Do you remember exactly? I don't remember, because I know there was so much that went on.
I don't, and that,
I don't expect you to either.
Well,
I
but
really
I'm kind
don't.
of chuckling though, because we did talk about this, because I do feel, because I get myself into a hypnotic state before I see clients, and I know that someone is working through me a lot of
Right.
times as
Now,
well.
I have goosebumps and inside floaties. Yes,
Right.
yes.
So clearly I remember the person and the work we do, but as far as like every single detail, I just feel like it's being channeled and it's flowing through me at that moment. So to sit here and be fully honest with you, I don't even remember the first question I asked. I do know, maybe to help maybe us remember together, I do ask people to tap into how you're feeling. What are you feeling? Do you feel something inside your body? Because our body really tells us things.
That's right. That's
that
how you
what it
started.
was?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, that is how you started. Yes, 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 yes. So, because then you led into, either asking me where I was or what is my surroundings, and then I said that I was suspended, vertical,
Yes.
underwater.
Yes.
And I was in my scuba suit. I was in, my BCD, my whole gear, and I was just hanging out in the water and just swaying with the water, and the fish were swimming by, and that is my happy place. That's where the whole world is clear to me,
Yeah.
and it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm in my space, and I could see that my energy was contained in my scuba suit. I was contained.
Yeah.
And I felt, and you asked me, how do you feel?
Right.
And I said, I felt safe, and I felt,
Yes.
encompassed, and for all of those who have been in the ocean or in a body of water, your body feels very contained
Right.
when, you feel the pressure of the,
Yes.
of the water on your body.
Yes,
So that was a
yes.
calming
Yeah.
state for me, amazingly calming.
I'm just sitting here smirking. What astrological sign are you?
Gemini.
You're Gemini. Okay. I'm a Cancer. The only reason I ask is because, there's water signs.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
is it Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer are water signs? And so I just wondered if you were
I was
a
a water
water sign,
sign.
just
Sure.
to find comfort in that. So that's very interesting. But I'm chuckling to myself, though, because with water actually represents, obviously depth, but movement, flow, but also our emotions. So I wonder if maybe, and I'm not an astrologist by any means, but I know enough to be a little dangerous, but I wonder if you have like a ascending sign or rising sign that might be based in water. I'm curious if you might have that, just because, again, that's where emotions are at, and you just find comfort and safety there. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I never thought about that. We'll have to dig into
Yes,
that too.
yes, exactly.
Yes, yeah.
The onion,
Yes,
right?
and the onion. Yes, yes. Well, and when you had me under hypnosis, you talked about, okay, now feel your energy. So interestingly enough, because I've always been on this trek of understanding energy, I had painted this,
Yeah.
on the a couple of months ago. And then when I came to see you, and what I saw underwater is I then saw that just my energy, like my energy flowing up and down vertically, and I could see your energy next to me, and my energy and your energy is interacting, and that's kind of dancing in the water,
Yeah.
But then there was another energy that was on the right-hand side of me that was just kind of standing there, and my energy was kind of going, poke, okay, I see you, but you're not, but I could feel that wall, or that, protection, I guess,
yes.
from the, and I'm not saying that other energy was negative or had a lower vibration of mine, but it was just different, and my energy was kind of like, okay, I see you, but that's, it.
Right.
And then throughout the session, when you said to me, okay, Liz, Now I want you to think of a word or something that will bring you back into the state.
Yes.
And then I said, anchored in my scuba suit. I mean, and you said, oh my gosh, I should have thought of anchor. You know, after we were done,
Yeah.
you said we should have maybe used the word anchor.
Yeah.
And so for me now, when I am in a, even if somebody, so I'm so sensitive, my empathic, I mean, that another one of my superpowers is I'm such a strong empath. Is empath, right? Empath.
Yes, empath.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And if someone is angry, sometimes my spirit will identify with that anger because
Right.
we've all felt anger, we've all been sad, we've all,
Yeah.
and my spirit will identify with that. Well, now I just zip up my scuba suit.
Yes.
And it's such a profound feeling.
Right.
So I can only imagine for someone who is trying to maybe quit smoking or is, I know you do a sugar class, right? Where
Yes.
it's,
Break the sugar addiction. Yep.
I can see how when you hear your subconscious and, obviously for me, doing Quiet Your Mind with Creativity and all that stuff, I'm in that hypnotic state, not even realizing it when I'm painting.
Right.
So now my creative mind says, no, Lizzie, you're in your scuba suit, and you just zip up your scuba suit, and I'm fine. And I've been able to practice it, because we encounter so many things throughout the day.
Yeah.
And there was only one moment that I almost forgot. And then I was like, no, where's your scuba suit? And then I zipped up my scuba suit. So, but for me, in my childlike mind, that's what I see, and maybe that's not just a childlike mind, but for me, that's what I think of is that little kid in me that says, Lizzie, go get in your scuba suit.
Exactly. And I love that. And hearing you say all of that, and we might have talked about this a little bit at your session, because I do talk to people about this a lot, is getting in the objective observer position. And so what that is, this is front of mind, so I have to say this. Like, so let's say you're out somewhere and you're picking up energy, and all of a sudden you come home and you're angry, and you're like, I left the house feeling good. Why am I angry? Taking a moment, one, to acknowledge how we are feeling. Somewhere along the line, we were trained, to not feel our emotions. How many listening to the show, and you included, and it's not that parents were doing anything to be ill will, because I'm sure I did this to my children too, but why are you crying? If you're going to act like that, go to your room. Or we've had these experiences before. So just that is one example, is teaching us to run away from our emotions, to hide our emotions, that type of thing. So therefore, a lot of times people don't sit in our emotions and feel them. There's a delicate dance. We don't want to sit so long that we spiral downward, but we also need to sit with them. So back to you, like maybe picking up energy and all of a sudden feeling angry, like, where did this come from? And really tracing it back, but doing that as an objective observer, because then as an observer, you are just viewing it. You're not judging, questioning, critiquing. You're just observing it. And so as you were talking about zipping up the suit, that made me think a little bit about that objective observer position, as far as, I'm feeling some energy coming in, and but kind of almost zipping yourself up, to rise above the situation, to look down at it and to see what's going on, so that you can almost head it off at the pass.
Sure. And
does that make sense?
It totally does. And I think about that on another level too, like when we are life coaching, when we are working with someone, we're almost doing that. We're being that objective.
Right.
And I think our empathy and what different things that we've gone through in our own lives, our spirit identifies with it. So we are objectively being able to say, oh, I remember that feeling. And we can help somebody walk through that to help them maybe pull out that emotion.
Yes.
And that's definitely what you did for me,
Yeah.
is to pull out that it's okay for me to be the little kid that I am, and to be the squirrel on rollerblades, and this is who I am. I don't have to be someone else, but I do have to identify with someone else if I'm talking with them, and if someone's speaking a little slower, slow my speech down just for a good communication. But that's not changing who I am.
Exactly.
And I think I've always thought that's been my belief, back to your, you talking about, Lizzie, don't be so sensitive. Lizzie, don't, I mean, throughout my years, I can't even tell. I wish I had a bucket of money for every person that has said to me, oh my gosh, you're so sensitive,
Right.
I mean, I could probably feed the whole world.
Yes.
Really.
And isn't it funny? So it kind of comes down to the meaning we put behind something. So some people could sit there and put a meaning behind being too sensitive, that that's a bad thing. Well, that's their meaning, but we can also choose what meaning. So to me, being an objective observer, hearing you say that again about being very empathic and that type of thing, I feel it's your superpower. And and I realize it can be a little bit, it possibly could be detrimental to you, because then you go home angry, or whatever that emotion is. But at that moment, you are exuding loving kindness through your empathy, and that's a beautiful thing, right? And so me being the objective observer, that's the meaning I'm putting to you being empathic, where somebody else could put a meaning to it, saying, oh, too sensitive, that's a bad thing.
Yes.
But all that matters is the meaning you put behind it.
Right, right. Well, and that's a great segue, because I almost forgot this part of it when I was in hypnosis, and in the water, I turned. Now I'm still just the energy, but I turned and I was going through the water and creating that wake, and all these other people were following me. They were energies, were all following me. And you said to me, and I said, we were passing by some energies on the side. And you said, Lizzie, what do you think about the ones that you're passing by? And I said, oh, they'll follow later. Which the old Lizzie would have said, oh, hey, come on, you gotta come with us, because your life's gonna be so much happier if you just come along with us. Which I can't change how someone thinks or feels. They have to want to, and everybody is their own being, your own spirit, and that's okay, and for me to say that was a profound moment to me too, that I don't have to always be something for everyone, and I guess just sharing that love, like you said, like you do, sharing the love and that commitment to helping people, and this amazing modality that you have now learned in hypnotherapy and using your life coaching, that it's such a profound connection between the two. I don't even know what the other word is to say.
Yeah, profound. I tell people a lot that hypnosis and the work that I facilitate for people honestly, it's rather simple, but it's so profound. It's a weird combination, but it's cool. I've got to come back to what you just said, though, as you were talking about swimming through and the energies around. I had a visual, because I don't know if I feel or I see visuals. I used to kind of hide this, but it's just like, boom, this thought comes into me, and so I'm going to explain it. When you were talking, I envisioned the ripple effect, because we all know, throw that pebble in the water and that ripple effect. And with what you said, just like a ripple, there's like that first round of the ripple, and then it goes out, and then it goes out, and it goes out. And so the old you would have said, come along. So that's the first ripple. But just trusting and knowing that people will, at their own time and their own pace. So they might be a further out ripple, but you're still impacting them. Right?
Yeah.
That just hit me so clearly when you were talking. I'm like, oh, I got to say that.
Oh, yeah.
And it was more of a visual boom that came into me. So I hope my explanation of it is as good as it is in my head.
No, you are right on. I mean, right on. That, and the clarity. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about too is the paths. Remember, we talked about my path, like the path that I'm on now, and then the other path where I think I should go, and then this middle path that I don't know what that is yet. And I really believe that, all of them, obviously they all commingle together, but knowing, just like what you talked about, is there is always better. There's always more. There's always more joy, more happiness, more gratitude, more. There's always more. And it is just looking at an example of, I don't know, a situation that we go through, and then knowing that it's only a moment in time. And in 30 seconds, you're going to be on to the next situation.
Right.
And remember that, and not bring that old situation with you unless it's to help someone else with it. Because now you've gone through that and you can identify with that. And being able to decipher in our own energy, oh, I identify because you're angry. I remember being angry about that myself, and just letting it go. Like, okay, I've identified that.
Right. I love what you said there, and that's so true. And I think that can somewhat hang people up a little bit as far as with what you just said there. It made me think about people. We tend to go to our last memory of something. Earlier, I talked about, if you were giving a public speech and as you were walking up on stage, you tripped or something, that's going to be that lasting memory that people go to, right? And so there is something that I do that's called memory reconsolidation, which is to change the feeling connected, the emotions connected to that last memory, so it can be something that's more serving to you. But back to your point about the journey, because I think we all have that, right, in life, like, oh, I have choice A, I have choice B, what should I do, that type of thing. And I think just trusting our gut and knowing that we are on a path, and every single thing that we do is feedback for us, right? And even if we go down the wrong path, what's the wrong path? Major air quotes here, but even if we go down the perceived wrong path, that's still teaching us something, right? That when we get back on the right path, we're going to take that information with us and use it. And sorry, that was just in my mind when you were talking about that scenario that you just experienced about, the different parts of you that you had during your session.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. And you're still teaching me, because even from, the session when I thought, okay, I got to zip up my scuba suit because I need to be protected, I do need to take that moment and have that overview of, okay, why is this affecting me? And that could happen in a split second. Oh, I remember that. Zip up my scuba suit. But now that is my I don't know, what do you call it? My tool. It's my tool in my tool belt, as I can say, oh, I relate.
Right,
Zip.
right.
And
that's what we need. And sometimes that's what comes out in coaching or hypnosis, is just that, the anchor, something that we anchor to, that we can remember that. And for you, it's the scuba suit, which and that works for you. That wouldn't, and again, model of the world. That's your model of the world.
Right.
But a scuba suit wouldn't work for a lot of people, but it does for you. And that's all that matters. And for you to have that visual connection and then the emotional connection with that for you, that's why you're going to remember it so long. It goes back to how I remember where I was at 7 years old when it was announced on the radio that Elvis died and different things, right? You're going to have that emotional connection to help bring you back to that moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the most profound thing that I remember when I was a kid is when we walked on the moon. I know where I was at. I even remember where my desk was. I remember where the teacher was. I remember where the TV was when I was in, grade school when we walked on the moon. I mean, I remember like I can go back to that second in just a second.
Yeah.
And anytime we talk about space and all of it, I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there at that moment, that excitement that we all had. So yeah, I really identify with that.
I'm just sitting here listening to that because I'm like, that's not a memory I have.
Oh.
I don't. Maybe I missed that day of school. I don't know.
Or maybe your teacher wasn't into that. I don't know. Who
exactly.
knows?
Because again, maybe that emotional charge with it. Maybe you had a teacher that was like, "Oh my gosh," and really had everybody stop what they were doing to watch that, and that would make sense why you would remember that.
Yeah.
I love that because it kind of supports everything that we've been saying here about that connection with things.
Yeah. So when you said it earlier, that was the first thought that I went to. So and I never thought we'd circle back to that. So it is the universe.
Exactly.
It definitely is the universe. Well, you know what? Let's just roll into, if you would please share with us all these amazing things that you brought along with. And
thank you.
Yeah, talk a little bit about your book and how we get in touch with you, because what you do is amazing. So please. Yes,
well,
please
thank
share.
you.
You're welcome.
Well, because Loving Life Creatively with Lizzie Menz, you are an artist. You're a beautiful artist.
Thank you.
And so I think a lot of times people do think about the arts, right, with being creative. And as I was preparing to come here, I was like, well, wait, I was very creative in writing 4 different books.
Yes.
And so I thought, well, I'm going to bring my books for that. And then also just with some of the stuff we've talked about here today, and I know you are too. I mean, clearly you are with your coaching style, but even being a coach, we are creative. We're creative with every client that we have, whether we're creative with our thoughts, our words, our approach, that type of thing. And so encouraging people to think maybe outside of the box, color outside of the lines, right? With your creativity, because it can be more than, what people might typically think of. So thank you for expanding that to invite me here today. So I do have 4 published books. They're all on Amazon, and actually everything's on my website too, ConnieJoHolmes.com. And on there I think I have a books tab, maybe it's a products tab. It's products, and then you'll see my books on there. And then this I brought here because Stephanie Lucetta, with Stephanie Lucetta Art, we have partnered to bring together, it's called a future life progression class. And so it's the opposite of a past life regression, if anyone knows what those are. But it's really an opportunity for me to put somebody in a hypnotic state to really imagine your ideal future. What does that look like, feel like, sound like to you? All those types of things. And then when you are done with that, then we hit the canvas, and then you get to create what it is that you saw. And so this was one that I did last year, and I created mine a little bit more like a vision board possibly, but it was just a really fun experience. So that's something that we're doing quarterly this year. So the next one is going to be June. I can't even remember, June 25th, I believe it is. I should have had the date ready, but that's on my website under events.
Sure.
So that's
Cool. Awesome.
something that we're doing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. That's wonderful. And to be able to utilize, hypnotherapy as a way, if somebody does have a creative block, or they feel, that somebody in their life said, you're not good at art.
Yes.
To help lift that.
Yes.
And help someone find, that creative spirit is outstanding.
Right.
That's outstanding. And Stephanie is amazing at, utilizing art, of course,
Yes.
too,
Yeah.
as a great modality, as
Right.
well for all of that. So
Yeah.
the other thing that I love about you is your connectivity with all of us, that you look at all the healers, all of the artists, all of the creatives, as a way to really partner, and, maybe not even just partnering as a class, but sharing the wealth out there, sharing what's going on and all that stuff. And you're such a huge supporter. So and I'm going to speak of all of us who know you, we appreciate that too, because you see the bigger picture. You see how not everybody resonates with everything. There's all these different ways to find your creativity, or find that quietness, or find, ways to be your higher best self.
Right. Well, thank you very much for that compliment. And you are the exact same. I definitely believe in collaboration without a doubt. I don't think there's competition, there's collaboration. And so I'm always looking for ways to work with people, and also to let people know the power that we all hold within ourselves. One thing you mentioned earlier about as far as people with a block or something like that, but then you also mentioned the word anchor, literally and physically and literally and everything for you with your hypnotic session with the water and all of that. But that is something that it's actually an NLP technique, neuro linguistic programming, because I'm also an NLP specialist. But what that is because sports athletes, they use this quite a bit. Or if somebody wants to do public speaking, what it is you build that person up to their peak state. You have them feel it in their body like it's happening right now, winning that Olympic gold, crushing the best interview possible, delivering the best speech of your life, whatever it might be. And when they are built up to that peak state, you have them collapse and anchor. I usually have them pitch their first finger against their thumb.
Oh, really?
Now that you know this technique, not everyone knows this and does this, but now that you know this technique, the next time you see somebody do public speaking, or you see an athlete walk out onto the field or the court or whatever, sometimes you might notice them doing this. And what that's doing is this simple little movement allows them to go back to that peak state that they felt in hypnosis, and it allows them to take all of that energy, I'll just use that as a big old word here, all of the energy that they have, and just deliver it at that moment. So that's a super cool thing too. So that's why when you mentioned anchor earlier, that's what you're doing every time you're thinking about the scuba suit, is you're anchoring yourself back to that very powerful, that powerful feeling. But one thing too, I know it's super
so,
cool.
yeah.
So I'm getting a little long-winded with this, but I also want to come back to the one thing you said about connecting in the community and things, is because I do live on a hobby farm here west of town in Janesville. And my husband and I, we're very fortunate that we have many different buildings on there. And so
And it's adorable. It's wonderful. It's
thank
wonderful.
you.
You're
Yes, I
welcome.
love my office. My office has been done for a
Yes.
couple of years. That's where I see clients. But there's a barn on the other side of my office. And so actually, we are cleaning that out right now because it's going to be my retreat barn that I'm going to start holding retreats. But I do have visions of having like an open house with some of the people that we're referencing today, and just some of the different people in the area, so that I can get to know them better. We all can meet and greet, and then we can figure out, hey, what can we do as a collective, whether it's a whole collective or just smaller subsets of a collective. And it's funny because actually my husband's home cleaning the barn right now, and when I leave here, I have to help him. So can we make like a 5-hour episode today? That would be great.
I don't know. I think Tina might kick us out, but we could try. I love it. I love it. Well, Connie, thank you so very much for being here today and sharing the world of hypnotherapy. I have learned so much, and I'm sure out there in our community world, I'm sure everybody has learned a little bit more about hypnotherapy, and
Thank you.
not to be afraid of it and not to think of it as a scary tool, to just really, be open.
Yes.
Be really open, and open up all those, I call them all the boxes in their head. Start opening those boxes and start healing and erasing and, just getting rid of all the mud.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I just need to take a moment and acknowledge your light, that you shine very bright. I think we had talked previously about lightning bugs, and it just, you resemble one to me in that everything a lightning bug is, like, when we were children, remember we were chasing the lightning bugs and it was so fun and enjoyable, but then remember we would put them in our hand and look at it, or we would put them in a jar and it would light the way. And I feel like that's what you're doing, not only with the show, but just with what you do for a living and how you live your life. So I encourage you to keep shining your bright, beautiful light and your childlike, beautiful wonder, and allow that to light you up along the way as well, and never dim your light.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you so very much. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
So grateful to know you. So grateful that you're in my life, and so grateful you're out there helping all of these amazing people that you encounter. Just
thank you.
so grateful for you. Yes.
Oh,
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're very welcome. Oh, so thank you all for joining us on Loving Life Creatively. We hope you've been inspired by the amazing, incredible talent and stories of our local creatives. It has truly been an honor sharing this time with you. Creating is an exhilarating escape that quiets the mind and fuels positivity. When you dive into the creative process, it's like flipping a switch that drowns out the noise and fills you with a vibrant energy. Now we know hypnotherapy is another amazing one. Every brushstroke, word, or note is a step towards a joyful accomplishment, making the world brighter and all of our spirits just a little lighter. Creating is truly for everyone. So as we are talking, I thought it would be really interesting for us to share with this little tidbit with all of you, just another tip and trick that you can utilize after you go to a hypnotherapy session or have a life coach session with someone. And being a creative like me, of course I grab all of my markers to do that with, and I have this wonderful journal that I write things in that I don't want to forget, because life gets in the way and then you end up forgetting. But I also drew, when we were talking about my anchor and that my scuba suit and all that, I went home that afternoon and I drew this out. So if anyone else, has that kind of a inspiration to go draw, to draw it and to see what
it's so beautiful.
What you saw. Thank you.
And from what you shared with me while you were under hypnosis, this completely depicts probably my view of, hearing it as you were saying it when you were under hypnosis. And it's beautiful. And this clearly has meaning to you. And so you're going to look at this and you're going to be anchored back to that session. And that's what's going to help you have this stay ever present in your mind.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Connie. Thank you. Yeah. And to write down the little notes and the things that you had shared with me as well as we were down in hypnosis. You know, I mean, life just gets in the way and you forget.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Most important.
Yes, yes. And everyone's different. I mean, clearly you being a very talented artist, you're going to do this, which I think is great. You followed your instincts, which is really smart. I do know a lot of people, they'll journal about it. So whatever works for you to help that session and your profound ahas stay ever present in your mind, I think that is such a great thing to do. So I'm so glad that you are suggesting this for the viewers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Connie. Yes, yes. I'm so grateful for you. So grateful for you. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Keep creating, keep inspiring, and keep loving life creatively. Until next time.